So, you think you're untouchable?
Word life. This is basic thugonomics. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me. Word life. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me.
Good evening, Who Dat Nation, and happy Wednesday, Bayou Blitz family. I hope everybody is doing well out there. Even you, Derek Carr, if you are tuning in, I hope you are doing well. I hope you are happy, content, and complete in retirement. And with all that having been said, welcome to our show, your Bayou Blitz podcast. I am one of your co-hosts to tonight's extravaganza. My name is Bob Rose. Over on the other side of the screen is your other co-host to tonight's extravaganza, the co-extravagandist, Brendan Boylan. How are you, Brendan?
Mark that down for made-up word. Mark that down.
Mm-hmm.
Co-extravagandist. Okay. I guess I'm extravagant. I see you're in a different spot of the house, no backdrop tonight.
I'm being lazy. I decided, instead of the desk chair, I decided to do the old lounge chair, which Will has dubbed his chair, because that's where he parks his little butt when he plays his video games for 25 hours a day. But I sent him to bed, so it's a school night. So I decided to relax with no backdrop, other than a couple family wedding photos behind me here.
Hey, I mean, look, you can be comfortable. You're allowed to. You deserve it. So, with that, everything's okay over here. We're good. I travel out in the morning, so no changes to the schedule this week, which is nice. But this is the first time we've been on together. We exchanged some texts over the weekend, but this is the first time that we've been on the air together to talk about the biggest news. And we'll get to the schedule release, and some of you have seen the official schedule. And
Brendan and I do have the 100% full New Orleans Saints schedule for the season, but like you're about to do, we want to just get this Band-Aid ripped off so that way we can move on, on to happier and healthier things.
Healthier, that is a good word in multiple senses. Yeah, Derek Carr retiring. To be frank, it's not something that I had on my bingo card.
Mm-hmm.
I figured it was going to be a situation where either Derek sat out for the year and then facilitated his release or facilitated a trade or what have you after the 25 season.
Mm-hmm.
That was like option A. Option B was that he was a post-June 1st cut, and the Saints just ate a ton of money to get him off the roster. Or C, you have him on the roster, put him on physically unable to perform, and then hope that there was a team in dire need of a quarterback, whether that be injury or whatever, and that Carr was healthy enough at that point to be traded for pennies on the dollar, if you will. I didn't have retirement as a fourth option. I figured he was going to find a way to play. I have seen some analysts that believe that it may be a temporary we can get into that as well. But, yeah, I think overall the first feeling for me was shock and then relief. And then I think the first thing I had actually texted you was like, oh, my God, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. I was in line at a coffee shop when I got the news. And I looked at my wife, and I think my mouth dropped. And I was just like, she kind of looked at me like I was nuts. And I'm like nudging her. And she's like, we got to order coffee. And I was like, no, this is far more important. I don't need that caffeine dose anymore. This woke me up. But that was kind of my initial thoughts. Bob, were your thoughts similar in just kind of hearing the news You were the one who ended up writing the piece
Yes.
of Athlon too, so you were right on it.
Yeah, I got the notification, and like you said, went right to work. We were one of the first publications to officially publish the story, not break the tweet, not screenshot the tweet, but the full story. And like you, I nudged my wife, and I showed her the title, to the article, and she's like, oh my God, is that fake news? Who's reporting that? I'm like, I am.
It's my work.
Oh my God. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, my jaw dropped a little bit too, Brendan. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought that the first two options you threw out there were the most likely scenarios. The Carr would either be injured reserved or PUP'd for the year and stay away from the Saints facility. And then the team and player would part ways after this coming regular season, or the Saints would just take their cap hit because they were gonna get it either way, and officially release Carr post June 1st. Either way, I think we were all in agreement that Derek Carr was never going to play a game for the New Orleans Saints again. That, in my head, that became pretty much official on night 2 of the draft, when the Saints selected Tyler Shuck, the quarterback from Louisville. So, I mean, the retirement, the reasons why seem pretty clear, at least on the surface. I don't know if I buy into what some of the analysts are suggesting, that Carr's retirement might be temporary. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it seems pretty clear, that he is destined for reconstructive shoulder surgery if he is going to play football again. So either way, he was not going to be a viable option at quarterback for anybody this year. Carr, at least evidently, decided, I'm going to put aside, the surgery and the extensive rehabilitation and take it from one who knows, because I've been through it. It is truly extensive rehabilitation. He wanted to, he's 34, 35 years old. He wanted to spend some time with his family. He and his wife have small children. Obviously, Derek and his wife are still, mourning, recovering from her miscarriage, which I believe was 2 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. That takes a while to get over to emotionally. So I'm not down with anybody saying, thank God he's gone, to hell with him, and bleep this and bleep that. No, I'm not with that. I wish Derek all the luck in the world, with his next chapter in life. But as both a New Orleans Saints fan and an analyst, I'm the word I would use is the same word you would use: relieved. I'm relieved the saga is over and the Saints can move on to their next chapter in life.
Yeah, that's a good word, and a good way to phrase that. And Bob, I'm with you. I think the one thing about sports and all the things that go on over the course of seasons, watching the team, covering the team, for us, I think it's easier to remember. Like, these are human beings, because we're in the media. You're around people. You're constantly in communication with people. The average fan, maybe, especially if you're not out at the Superdome or you're not out at games, there is this little moment where you have to go, oh, wow, yeah, like, this isn't Madden, or this isn't some made-up thing. Like, this isn't horse racing or anything. Like, these are people, that have lives. And to what you said with what was going on with Carr's family, like, go through very difficult things. I don't wish anything bad on Derek Carr. I am relieved it's over. I think both of us were getting to a point where we were tired of talking about it. Jokingly on this podcast, we kept referring to him as the one that shall not be named, because we didn't want to talk about it anymore. And I even came on and had a rant at one point of, look, until there's new news, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to keep rehashing the same thing week in and week out just because it was said in a different way or on a different outlet. Well, this is new news, and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
It is a relief. I will say this, though. If you want a blueprint, if you're Tyler Shuck, if you're Spencer Rattler, if you want a blueprint on what not to do during your tenure as quarterback, like just look at Derek Carr's.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Derek, some of it was self-inflicted wounds. Some of it was not. You cannot help the fact you get hurt multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you cannot help certain aspects of how some of the seasons went because of injury to yourself or to your teammates. You can't help how you carry yourself, and you can't help how you continue to grow and build relationships with your teammates, with the city. And I don't feel like Derek ever did that, Bob.
No, I don't think he did. And I mean, his personality, even going back to his Raiders days, he was always a rather aloof style of personality. That doesn't make him a bad person, but he became a PR nightmare for himself in New Orleans, like you said. And several weeks in a row, you were campaigning to be Derek's unofficial public relations manager because
Yes.
Lord knows he needed one. And to Tyler Shuck's credit, he is off the field. He is the anti-Carr, Derek Carr so far. He is ingraining himself in New Orleans lifestyle, in New Orleans culture. He's saying he's doing the right things to attract a positive response from the fans. Spencer Rattler, since the season has ended, Spencer Rattler has famously a few times been on social media working out with teammates or at the facility. These are things that Derek Carr didn't do. Now, Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, you're going to have to do it on the field. Because part of one of Derek Carr's biggest curses was something that wasn't his fault. He was one of the first guys to replace the legendary Drew Brees. That's a no-win situation for anybody, any human being. I know that Derek wasn't the first quarterback after Brees. That honor technically belonged to Jameis Winston, but Derek Carr was handpicked by the coach, Dennis Allen. So essentially, Jameis Winston was, on the roster, had bounced around the league. There was a quarterback competition between he and Taysom Hill, although that was never an actual competition. Derek Carr was brought in specifically to be the starter, specifically to take the Saints back to the playoffs, which you wrote about. We'll get into that in a minute. Essentially, Derek Carr was the first person anointed to replace Drew Brees. I forget who said it, but it was somebody who had to be. I think it might have been Steve Young after he replaced Joe Montana. But whomever it was, he said, "You never want to be the man who replaces the legend. You want to be the man who replaces the man who replaced the legend." That's Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, or could be Hunter Deckers. You never know.
We're just throwing Jake Hanner out the window.
I'm not giving up on Jake yet, but I like my chances on winning the Mega Million lottery and back-to-back drawings better than I like Jake Hayner's chances of winning the Saints starting quarterback job. Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, you're going to have to do it on the field now. But from a public relations standpoint, Shuck especially, you're certainly trending in the right direction.
No, you're absolutely right. The two things that I think caught the attention of a lot of Saints fans right when Shuck was drafted was his draft day post or post-draft Day Instagram post, music choices, the captioning, and then one of his first media availabilities after minicamp, or rookie camp, he said that he felt ingrained in the city already, that he already hit a pothole and had to replace a tire. That seems so minuscule, right? To make a joke like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know how far that goes for people, though? Because what? You become relatable. And I just went and talked about how sometimes fans forget that these players are human. Well, some of that too isn't just because you're on a TV and you're sitting on your couch. Like part of that is the very stark differences in lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
As much as Bob and I would like to roll around in our Ferraris and our Mercedes Benzes, or pick your car type of thing, like that's just not realistic. Like Bob and I both drive Camrys. At least I think we both drive, or something in the realm of that. Bob's like, yeah, kind of, yeah.
It's a Honda, but okay.
It's a Honda. Okay, do you have an Accord? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so you drive an Accord. I drive a Camry. Like it is the most. Like I am getting hella gas mileage type of car that you can find. Right. That's what we're after. We're after the save money aspect. While a lot of times athletes are driving ridiculous cars and they're out and they're spending a lot of money and they're doing this and they're doing that. Well, that kind of makes you unrelatable. So when somebody can come in and be like, "Oh yeah, first day in the city, boom, pothole, tire replace," you're like, "Hey, I know exactly what that's like." Or they bring up, "Hey, I went down to insert restaurant here and had a great time." I know that Chuck, his first night in New Orleans, they went to a restaurant downtown, and it was okay. Like that's relatable. Like, hey, I've ate there before. Those little things make you a little bit more human.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes a long way too. And we just talked about it. Really wasn't Derek Carr's personality to be a relatable guy. It just wasn't. There was something about Derek Carr, the way he spoke, the way he carried himself. He just wasn't very relatable. And that was another part of the distancing away from Saints fans and what I think Saints fans have become accustomed to. And again, some of that's not Derek's fault because Drew Brees set the standard of, hey, you got to be relatable. You got to love the city. You got to be involved in this and that. And some guys' personalities are simply not that.
Well, I mean, we always talked about Drew Brees being a computer on the field, which is certainly true. Drew Brees was a public relations computer off the field.
Yes.
It was like he was programmed or programmed himself to say and do all the right things to ingrain himself into the community. He did it in San Diego too, just not to the extent. New Orleans was so starved for a figure like that. To come in and do what he did, that it was literally a perfect storm. The Drew Brees PR machine and what New Orleans and the Gulf Coast region needed at the time. That's another reason why it worked for Drew, and another reason why you could make a strong case for Derek Carr. I talked about Derek Carr, having one major strike against him because he's coming in replacing a legend on an aging, rebuilding team. Now we're sitting here talking about, okay, Derek Carr's looking at strike two because he's not the PR machine that Drew Brees was. And the Saints fans, the majority of Saints fans, especially younger ones, are already looking at him like, you're not Drew, so I don't think we like you. And Derek just gave them reason after reason after reason to not like him. So you wrote an article without giving away too much of the article itself. I'd like you to hit some of the bullet points on your article on that angle between the relationship between or the situation that Derek Carr was facing when coming to New Orleans.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't read the article, it's on Athlon. I don't write a lot of editorials, right? I think I don't write a lot of opinion pieces, and I haven't for a very long time. right? So this one was one that was fun and difficult, and Bob got lots of text messages while I wrote it. But the title of the article is Derek Carr in New Orleans, a relationship doomed from the start. Please give it a read if you guys would, and read Bob's work, because Bob is a guy that, when it comes to this style of writing, is the Obi-Wan Kenobi to my Anakin Skywalker. I
Thank you.
hope I don't turn to the dark side, but that's a different
I was
story.
going to say that. Well, I think we can all agree. I'm already on the dark side. So, if we're in that parallel universe, are you going to try to kill me at some point?
No, no.
Okay.
If you want to go Sidious and Anakin, I mean, you have to get really old and deranged before that happens. So we got some time, or maybe we don't. I don't know. Just kidding. But anyway, back. So the article, Derek Carr in New Orleans, a relationship doomed from the start. Yeah, I think for the situation that Derek came into, like you had mentioned, the replacing Drew and kind of what came with that. So you can kind of throw that in like 1A and 1B, right? You're replacing a legend as is, and frankly, your personality is vastly different than one of the That's difficult itself. I think one of the biggest red flags for me when the Carr signing happened was that he was coming into a situation where he was in dire need of a breath of fresh air, right? His ending with the Raiders was not pretty, very similar to, in a way, to how it was not pretty here in New Orleans. He ends up getting benched. He makes a statement like once they made his wife cry, it was over. Like that was it. And for a guy who had been the face of the franchise for 8 years, it was a weird way to go out. And the Raiders were in the process of moving out of Oakland, or just had moved out of Oakland to Vegas. And it seemed like, okay, well, if you can have this guy who's been the face of the franchise for a long time and be the face of the franchise once they move, that's great. Well, none of that really happened. So Derek Carr is packing his bags. He still feels like he's got good football left. And if you guys remember, it was really down in New Orleans and New York, the Jets. And what got Derek to New Orleans was his relationship with Dennis Allen, which is not a bad thing. Bob and I talk about it all the time, not just on podcasts, but just in life. This world is a who you know type of world. So for Derek Carr, it was great. Hey, I got a great relationship with Dennis Allen. He drafted me, this, that, and the other. From Derek's side, it looked great from his point of view. But we also forget, Dennis Allen was on the hot seat. The Saints had missed the playoffs by one game, back-to-back seasons, right? The Saints were in dire need of figuring out who that next quarterback was going to be. Because to Bob's point, Derek Carr was, in a way, the replacement, the anointed one post-Drew Brees. But the Saints had played and started Trevor Siemian, Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Ian Book. It was a carousel of quarterbacks. So Derek gets thrown to the fire in a sense because, well, there already was a fire. It was underneath Dennis Allen's butt.
Mm-hmm.
So Dennis Allen goes, I'm familiar with you. Let's go down together. Like, we're going to go out firing, and this is what's going to happen. We're either going to survive and come out on the other side on top, or we're going to go down together. And that was the first red flag. Now, as Bob and I have talked about now for 20 minutes, Derek didn't do himself any favors. Without giving away the rest of the article, you could read the rest of the red flags. But I do think a lot of people forget, while in a way it was a promising situation to sign a 4-year, $150 million contract and be the quarterback for a team, it's not like he walked into a perfect situation.
Mm-hmm.
He walked into a situation that was set up for failure. And again, Derek did not help himself at all. But it was doomed from the start. And there are many other reasons why it was, and you can read about the reasons why Derek hurt himself. But look, at the end of the day, between that and what Drew Brees said, and if you love New Orleans, it'll love you back. A lot of question marks if Derek Carr ever really loved New Orleans. And that's, I think, ultimately why we're here now. The play wasn't good. Dennis Allen said, you're going down with the ship. And what do you know? When Dennis Allen went down with the ship, how many – do you know – you read the article, so you do know. But after Dennis Allen's firing, Derek Carr started 4 games for the Saints. That was it. They went down together. Say what you want. Oh, he played games and he started games for Darren Rizzi. Yeah, but they absolutely went down together.
Well, I mean, what did I say on our show with Alan during every time the topic came up? What did I say about Dennis Allen and Derek Carr? I said, obviously, as we have said multiple times, Dennis Allen was the driving force in getting Derek Carr to New Orleans.
Yeah.
He's the guy he wanted. Carr chose New Orleans in large part because of Dennis Allen. So Dennis Allen was the coach he wanted. So what did I say numerous times? Dennis Allen and Derek Carr were going to be connected like Titanic and the iceberg. Well, they both ended up in the same place.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Did I miss any points that you wanted to touch on?
No. I mean, I think you hit the bullet points. Folks, read the article. I think I think it's some of Brendan's best work from an editorial standpoint. And you could tell that he put a lot of hard work into it, put a lot of time, put a lot of thought into it. So, seriously, I mean, go give him feedback. I know a lot of you are sick about reading about Derek Carr. I'm getting that kind of negative feedback, like it's my fault. When I post a Derek Carr related article, we're sick of reading about that. Guys, we're sick of writing about Derek Carr. We're sick of talking about Derek Carr. Here is us ripping the Band-Aid off. Brendan is just putting a bow, on that seeping wound. But I, personally, folks, I think it's I think it's worth a read, and think it's worth a few minutes of your time, to take the time to click, to read, and to comment, and from here on out, until we get our friend Jim Everett, on our show, because Jim was on both sides of that equation too. I'm working on getting Jim in here in the next couple of weeks, for him to talk about not only Derek Carr, but Tyler Shuck as well. But outside of that upcoming interview, from here on out, it's going to be, when the topic of Saints quarterbacks come up, it's going to be about only the guys that are in the building: Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, Hunter Deckers if he impresses, and Jake Haener if he hangs on.
Well said. Anna says Haener's a Ford Fiesta, since we're talking about, I drive this and you drive that. Okay. I mean, yeah, sure. Poor guy. One start. Hey, he's got that, though. There's, it's not as bad in New Orleans as, the Cleveland Browns, infamous jersey of starting quarterback names. But, Jake Haener's he's on the jersey.
He made the list.
He made the list. My favorite one, super off topic as we transition to, I guess, the schedule. On the Browns one, there is a few names of guys who made 1 or 2 starts. But my favorite one, because I went to high school with him, is Connor Shaw. So a week 17 game for them. They needed to win and somebody else needed to lose to get them to the playoffs. And he was the last available healthy quarterback. So if they had won and the situation had worked out the way that it needed to, he would have started a playoff game and just been on this very short list. Now, it didn't work out that way, but he's on the jersey. He made the list. It was his only career NFL start. So Jake Haener, in a similar sense, you're on the list, dude. Congrats. You're on the list. Other lists is this schedule, which it's a weird time for everybody, and you kind of alluded to it when we got on, is we do have the official one. My Lord, yesterday, at some point last night, everyone in the world was convinced they were opening up the season against Tennessee. And I was like, no, they're not.
We try to tell you guys every single year, and every single year, a large portion of you don't listen. When I posted my article this afternoon, that the Saints would be, one of the first Saints-related leaks was who their season opener was going to be against, which at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, I trusted my source, I verified, and then I wrote the article, just as I always do, folks. I'm getting bombarded. And Daniel McIntyre, I love you. You've been a follower of mine and of ours for a long time. But you took to my personal page and argued with me up and down. No, they're opening up against the Titans, and tried to screenshot me. No, dude, they're not. They're not. I wouldn't write this article if I wasn't 98% sure of what I was writing about. Because I'm perfectly capable of making a fool by myself, of myself by myself. I won't let others do it to me. So that's why when I do things like this, like I said, I go to sources I trust, and I still verify. So, dudes, it was going to be the Cardinals. That's why I wrote the article. You still want to argue with me? Okay. And he wasn't the only one. Daniel, I'm throwing you out there because I know you're a fan of the Bayou Blitz. I know you watch the show. So it's all in jest. It's all in love. You are one of the few that I will throw the name out there with a smile on my face, because I know you read our stuff. READ, you read it. So we thank you for that. Those of you that just want to comment on the titles, you can go F yourself. But yeah, like we said, we tell you every single year when it comes to free agency and schedule releases, be careful who you're listening to, and we beg you. Obviously we do it for our own self-serving agenda. That we want you to read our stuff, that we want you to listen to our shows, but we take pride in what we do too. We don't clickbait. We don't throw false narratives out there, and we don't claim to have sources when we don't, or throw things out there naming unnamed sources when in reality we don't have any. If we put it out there, it's because we have verified it to the best of our abilities.
100%, 120%. What Bob said. Let's look over the schedule. We knew who the opponents were. We've known that for a while. But the Saints do open up back-to-back weeks at home against the Arizona Cardinals and then the San Francisco 49ers. They then head to the road for back-to-back weeks, where they take on the Seattle Seahawks in week 3 and then the Buffalo Bills in week 4. I'm going to stop right there. Bob, that's a tough start. Arizona at home to open up the year, I think, is a favorable one. We'll see how it ends up going, right? The Saints have a history of struggling with mobile quarterbacks. You get Kyler Murray in the Superdome. But then after that, you get San Francisco, who they were really banged up last year, should be healthy, should be ready to go, and be a team that's back in the playoffs. Then you go to Seattle, and I don't care how good or bad Seattle is. That is a difficult place to play. And the Saints haven't had great success there over the years. And then after that, you go across the country. Thank God you're playing this game in September and not December.
Yeah.
But you go and you face the Buffalo Bills and the reigning, MVP of the league and Josh Allen. That's a difficult start for a first-time head coach, potentially a rookie quarterback, and a defense that is going to look mighty different than they have in years past, personnel-wise, and then obviously formation-wise. So, Bob, those first 4 weeks, just your initial reaction.
Well, I mean, and the first three games are against the NFC West, which is considered one of the better divisions in football. For my money, top to bottom, it's the best division in football. Cardinals, a lot of young talent. Still waiting for them to put it together a little bit, but they seem trending in the right direction. The 49ers, everybody is down on them, because they've had a lot of personnel changeover, but they still have a ton of core talent and outstanding coaching. So I expect the 49ers to be back in the mix of things. The Sea Hags, I don't have confidence in their quarterback, not at all. Sam Darnold is going to be exactly what Sam Darnold has always been, this year. So I'm not as high on the Sea Hags as most people are, but they do have a physical roster with a lot of young talent, and like you said, you're going to the Pacific Northwest, which is never an easy place to play. And then you're coming to Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills are going to be a lot of people's Super Bowl favorites. Even if they aren't a Super Bowl favorite, you got to lump them in there with the Super Bowl contender. That's a major test for a first-time head coach in Kellen Moore, and what we think is probably going to be a first-time starting rookie quarterback in Tyler Shuck. Not to mention a defense learning a completely new scheme and terminology. Don't let that go unnoticed either. Everybody's going to want to talk about, Kellen Moore and Tyler Shuck, and rightfully so. But how quickly is this defense, a defense that ranked 30th overall last year, how quickly are they going to gel? Are they going to be able to shore up the many weak spots that they had last year? Well, I mean, you're going to be put to the test right away. That is for sure.
Absolutely. And then after that, you have an interesting stretch of potential young quarterback play, right? You get the Giants in week 5, which right now looks like it's going to be Russell Wilson's going to be the starter, but you never know. Jackson Dart was a first-round draft pick, followed by another home game against the New England Patriots and Drake May. Then you go to Chicago on the road to face Caleb Williams, and then in week 8 you get Tampa Bay at home. But you have that 3-game stretch where you could be facing young rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks going into their second year. Thoughts there? Do you think that is good? In my opinion, where the schedule is, yes, those first 4 games are hard. You're going to learn a lot about this football team, in my opinion, weeks 5, 6, and 7, when you're facing talent that you would say is probably on an equal scale. But from the defensive side, you just talked about how long is it going to take. You're probably going to see some secondary breakdowns in those first 4 weeks. In week 5, hopefully you have a better feel of it, and you're facing young quarterbacks in the NFL. I think that's where you're going to see a lot of people say this is how we're going to be able to measure the Saints for the 2025 season.
Yeah, and I mean, with all teams on equal footing right now, you're still evaluating the rosters. The Giants don't look like a very good team at all. The Patriots don't look like a very good team at all. But each team, I love what the Giants are building defensively, and they had a good defense already last year. The Patriots seem to be solidifying a direction that they want to head. So okay, if you're going to consider the Saints, Patriots, and Saints, Giants, and Patriots on fairly equal footing as far as teams trying to find themselves, climb back into perennial playoff contention, then you're right. You'll find out a lot about New Orleans then. And if we're right about those first 4 games and that being kind of a tough stretch, if the Saints come out of there 2-2, 1-3, then this could be a real opportunity against the Giants, Patriots, and a Bears team that, frankly, I'm not real high on either, but one that also has a lot of young talent, like you pointed out. Those 3 games kind of give you an opportunity to at least tread water in the standings until you face your first divisional foe, a team that's probably going to be ruling the NFC South again this year in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in your first divisional game.
I think that how you just said that is perfect too. Because if you, let's say, worst case scenario, you struggle like hell against the Giants, and you struggle like hell in that stretch against a Patriots team that I don't think is going to be very good, and then let's say Caleb Williams lights you up in Chicago. If you struggle those 3 weeks, then you play a Tampa Bay team that I think, and I think most everybody would agree, is the NFC South favorite because they won it last year, and the roster hasn't turned over a whole lot. I mean, shoot, your season could be over right there at week 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would leave a super sour taste in the mouth of Saints fans. Let's move on to the rest of this schedule. Back half of the schedule, you go on the road. You go to LA and play the Rams. That's going to be an interesting one. I think the Rams this year and next year are going to be really interesting, especially when they decide what to do with Matthew Stafford. Then you go on the road to my neck of the woods and you play Carolina Panthers at noon in week 10 before a bye week in week 11. And then you're back home with the Atlanta Falcons on November 23rd. Bob, that's that stretch. Week 8 to week 12, you have 3 divisional opponents. And on top of that, you get a Rams team that I don't know if there's a clear-cut consensus on what type of team they're going to be next year, but they should be in the better half of the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
That tough stretch kind of continues. Those first 4 games we talk about being tough. Those second 4 games we talk about being an opportunity to kind of really see where you're at against some lesser competition, and then right smack again those next 4 you get a lot of talent within the division. So going back again, if you struggle in week 5, 6, 7, 8, you have any confidence going into weeks 9, 10, and 12?
No, I wouldn't. Because I think the Rams are going to be a good team. With Sean McVay, and as long as Matthew Stafford stays healthy, that they could play with anybody. The Panthers, I think, are going to be a much improved team this year. Looks like they finally have their coach. Looks like their quarterback finally, is getting things, and they're starting to surround him with some pretty intriguing talent. And then you face a Falcons team that I don't get the analysts. They want so bad for the Atlanta Falcons to take control of the NFC South. I look at the roster. There's something missing in Atlanta, if it's not between the ears, then it's behind the rib cage. They either lack intelligence or they lack heart, if not both. So I'm not worried about the Falcons, actually. Of that stretch, the Falcons might be the easiest game. I don't discount them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is a bitter rivalry after all, and just we've seen just about anything that could possibly happen over the decades and decades that these teams have battled. But I mean, you're right. Weeks 5 through 7, 5 through 8. That's an opportunity for the Saints. And if they struggle coming out of the gate, and then if they struggle heading into the midseason point, then this is a juggernaut. Part of the schedule with Rams, and then it's 3 divisional foes: Bucs, Panthers, Falcons, and Rams mixed in there. I mean, that could be the kill shot for your season. And just kind of cause it to spiral out of control. And even if you're a realistic Saints fan and you're looking at this roster and you're thinking, okay, I don't see a playoff team here, but I want to see progress. This is the opportunity where if you steal a game, if you create opportunities for yourselves against the Giants, Patriots, Bears, like we talked about, and if you can take a game or 2, especially 2, out of those first 4 weeks of the season, then if you can take a game a couple or three games, from this stretch between weeks 9 and 12, then you're sitting in actually a fairly decent position as you go into the final part of the schedule after the bye. Well, Falcons are immediately after the bye, but as you go into December, which you'll get into in a second, you have a real opportunity to make some noise.
You're absolutely right. But December doesn't come easy either. November 30th, week 13, you have the Miami Dolphins on the road. That's a team as well where there are pieces on that roster. Will those pieces come together to end up flourishing into something? I'm not sure. Then you get divisional opponents back to back. You get away against Tampa Bay, and then you get Carolina Panthers at home. And then you get a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a fun stretch because, any given Sunday, right? But you get the Jets at home, and then you close the year out with 2 road games in Tennessee and Atlanta. Some winnable games. But again, you have a little stretch there of playing competitive NFC South football against Tampa Bay. And to be honest, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Carolina. Like you alluded, there are a lot of nice weapons around Bryce Young. And it is a defense that was historically one of the worst ever. So only way is up? ? I think they're going to be a lot better than people give them credit for. But if you can get through that little stretch, Miami, Tampa, Carolina, those last 3 weeks are all very winnable. You talk about progress, right? Realistic progress. If this is a team that can come out of the season with 7 wins, progress, improvement, those last 3 weeks are all winnable games.
100%. And I mean, you know me, and you know the competitor that I am. Even as I'm looking at this Saints roster, I am thinking to myself, okay, what needs to happen for this to be a playoff team? What dark horses could rise up, things like that. And realistically, do I think the Saints are a playoff team? No. But I'm always looking for ways where that could happen. And we talked about the schedule over the first 4 games, then leading up to the midseason point, then at the midseason point. Now down the stretch of the year, you always want to be, especially if you're a team looking to rebuild. Whether the Saints want to use that term or not, that's what this is. You always want to be the team that other teams don't want to face at the end of the year. Whether you're in a playoff position or not, you want to be that team where they see it on the schedule and they say, New Orleans Saints, man, they could keep us from the playoff berth, or they could keep us from a division or a number 1 seed or whatever. And I do, looking at the Dolphins roster, that's a winnable game. Jets, Titans, certainly winnable games. The Saints have always played well in Tampa Bay. They were owning the Buccaneers last year before they just kind of inexplicably gave up in the second half. I still don't get that, by the way, but again, we're in a new chapter of the book now. And we already talked about the Falcons, and you're closing the season with them at Atlanta. It doesn't bother me going to Atlanta. That's like another home game, for the Saints. So, again, I'm not going to try to pull anybody's leg and say this could be an opportunity to close out strong and make the playoffs. But in a weak division, if you steal a few of those games earlier that we were talking about, you're looking at a very winnable December, where, again, if you don't steal the division, then at least you go into the offseason feeling pretty good about your chances for the future.
I think it's a fair analysis. I look at this schedule release, though, and I go, I could very well see this team win 5 games again. 5-6 games. I could very well see this team win, 7 games, 8 games max. I could also see a situation where things don't click early, and you find yourself in the hole early, and you never really dig yourself out of it. And this is that finishes with like 3 wins. All in all, to say, to Bob's point, I don't think this is a playoff team. But in a weak division, you never know. But that's the beauty of it. We can sit here and we can give our thoughts right now on the 14th of May when the schedule is released and have a completely different story, come September. That's the beauty of it. That is the absolute beauty of it. Bob, I don't want to keep our loyal fans too long tonight. I also don't want to keep myself too long tonight. I got to be on the road at like 5:30 in the morning.
No, that's fair, and I'm tired too.
Very tired too. I'm Brendan. Nice to meet you. That joke in there.
But I mean, we do. Last week we hit it at the beginning of the show. This week we saved it to the end. That doesn't change the importance. You guys know that the Bayou Blitz, that Brendan and myself, have been working closely with Get Checked or Check Out, a foundation, co-founded by Shireen DeWalt, and spearheaded, basically, was the driving force, is the driving force behind 11 straight years of the Go Black and Gold, the original Go Black and Gold charity fan cruise. Something that my wife Lauren, myself, and Will all went on about a month and a half ago. Late March into early April. This year's cruise had former Saints greats, Delvin Breaux, Tyrone Hughes, Pierre Thomas, Michael Lewis, Courtney Roby. Had a fantastic time with them, their families, and all the fans that were part of the Go Black and Gold cruise this year. Can't wait to do it next year. We will be disclosing the exact dates very shortly, I think, and be promoting that all year as well. But I mean, Get Checked or Check Out is a foundation that wants to focus on health and wants to put a monthly focus on different health issues. And May is Mental Health Awareness, sponsored by Get Checked or Check Out. And Mental Health Awareness Month helps people recognize the ways mental illness impacts their lives, educates people about available services, and highlights ways to advocate even if they don't have mental illness themselves. Recognition and education are important ways to remove the stigma that's associated with mental illness. Talking openly about mental health can reduce the misconception and stigma associated with mental illness, while encouraging those who suffer to seek help and find a support network. It's important for everyone, all of us, to understand the impact that mental health has on daily life. When people are better educated on these conditions, they can better support and help someone dealing with a mental health issue. Mental Health Awareness Month also provides opportunity for fundraising, outreach, and awareness events. In turn, this can help support research, fund treatment options, and connects advocates to create a more promising future in mental health care. Everyone can benefit from Mental Health Awareness Month. Nearly 1 in 5 United States adults has some sort of mental health condition. That person also has family and friends whose lives are affected by that condition, even if they don't themselves suffer from one. Anxiety disorders, major depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorders, borderline personality, obsessive compulsive disorders, and schizophrenia. 93 million people suffer from at least one of those. Get Checked or Check Out helps those with a condition overcome the stigma and get access to treatment. The organization also helps friends and family better understand the condition and connects them with support networks. But they need our help. They need help to find treatment providers, receive funding for care and research. So they truly do need our help for all that. Check out the Get Checked or Check Out website on our Bayou Blitz page or at the bottom of our screen. Help us be part of the solution.
Very well said, Bob. Very, very well said. Super important month. Super important to be able to reflect look at yourself, look in the mirror, and sometimes say the difficult thing, and that's that you need help. And frankly, everybody does at some point, in some capacity. Everybody needs help. I think you said it last week, and I'll echo it again: is if you're feeling some type of way and you need somebody, don't stop at just shooting a text and not hearing anything back. Like, call the people you know and you love, right? Shoot Bob or I a DM. Don't stop reaching out. I
Yeah,
know it
please,
sounds-
please don't stop. I know we all have a best friend, or that go-to person, or a couple go-to people. But don't, yeah, if you reach out to, one or two or three people, and you don't get help, you don't get support, you don't get the love that you need. All of us have, cell phones with, dozens and dozens of contacts. Most of those contacts we have some sort of relationship with. Like Brendan said, keep reaching out. Do not stop. That's the only way that you're going to find yourself possessed with the power to dig out of that spiral, because mental health illness is a spiral. Depression is a spiral. I struggle with it myself. Brendan, it's an issue that I know hits Brendan close to home. I also, don't stop reaching out until you find that person with the hypothetical, sometimes literal rope to help you climb out and get the support and the help that you need.
Yeah, don't stop till you get what you need out of the conversation with anybody. And sometimes you end up calling somebody and the conversation is about absolutely nothing, but guess what? That's exactly what you needed. Or sometimes you call somebody with the intention of talking about one thing, you end up talking about something else, and it's the best thing that could have happened. Happened with Bob
Mm-hmm.
a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So keep calling, keep reaching out, find your resources. There are much more resources than people know. That's why, Get Checked or Check Out exists. So go check them out as well. Well, guys, we thank you for tuning in on another Wednesday night for the Bayou Blitz podcast. Bob, do you want to let people know where they can check you out, check your work out?
Yeah, and thank you, all of you, for tuning in tonight. And you can check out all of my written work on my personal pages. Bob Rose on Facebook, at Bobby R 2613. We talked about Get Checked or Check Out. Please jot down that website. They post their links on our Bayou Blitz Facebook page, which, if you are not already a member of, please go do so. Get other Saints or football fans over there as well. Not only the Bayou Blitz Facebook group, but the Bayou Blitz Twitter page as well. And I have, not ready to make it tonight, but I do have a personal announcement regarding my sports media work coming in the next few days that I'm kind of excited about. So stay tuned for that as well. But in the meantime, make sure I'm still doing these undrafted rookie profiles. Going to be doing position profiles, position battles as we head towards OTAs, training camp, and obviously now a schedule breakdown as well.
For myself, you can follow me virtually everywhere at BT Boylan. Make sure to check out the work over on Athlon Sports. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and give Bob a read as well. I do have that Derek Carr story up if you guys want to, what did you say, Bob? Tie a little bow on this chapter and maybe just get a little bit of closure, understand things, see a little clearly on both sides of it. Go and check that out. So actually, no show next week, Bob. I'm on my honeymoon. I totally forgot to bring that up before we started.
Oh, boom.
So no show next week. You don't have to deal with us next week. I will be down in South Carolina stoking up the Suns and giving my best Bob Rose impersonation, because Bob stays tan 24/7, whether you can see it on camera or not. So I'm going to try to do my best to match it. So no show next week. But in the meantime, make sure to follow our work. I know Bob's got some personal news coming up. So we're excited to share and continue to support. Thank you guys for that support. So until 14 days from now or so, hope you guys find some peace, spread love, practice positivity. Thanks for tuning in. Who dat?
So, you think you're untouchable?
Word life. This is basic thugonomics. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me. Word life. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me.